Let's review the key measurements needed to set up AutoPath source operation recording. To utilize AutoPath rows, a Starfire receiver must be mounted on both the tractor and the implement. During the source operation, the row location data will be documented by the receiver mounted on the implement. Taking correct measurements during setup is critical for the system to produce a highly accurate set of guidance tracks that can be used for future passes in that field. When taking measurements, have a tape measure on hand. Always measure while the machine and implement are in a straight line operating position. Always measure with the implement engaged in the ground. Be sure to hold the tape measure straight in a vertical or horizontal direction. Do not measure diagonally or at an angle. In work setup, the AutoPath recording status indicator indicates whether all source operation requirements have been met before starting work. The measurements mentioned in this video are required for setup and are needed for the recording status indicator to show green. A green light signifies that the system is ready to record AutoPath data. In this video, we will be using a planter as an example. To begin inputting the correct implement and GPS measurements, in the cab select Menu, Applications, Equipment Manager. Select the implement to view and set up the implement profile. Begin working your way through the implement profile setup, starting with connection type and pivot offset. To find the pivot offset, measure the horizontal distance from the tractor connection point to the implement pivot pin. Note, this measurement only applies to 2-point drawn implements with a swivel hitch. Next, verify that the working width is correct. With Seedstar 2 or newer planters, these values will automatically populate. Otherwise, these values will need to be input by the operator. The next step is to measure the center of rotation. This is the horizontal measurement from the tractor connection point to the center point of the implement that makes contact with the ground. This could be an opener blade or the main lift wheels. This measurement will vary by implement. Next, we'll measure the implement receiver offsets. These values will not auto-populate, even on a Seedstar 2 or newer planter, as the location of the mast may change machine to machine. The GPS lateral offset is the distance from the center of the implement to the center of the receiver. This value will be 0 if the receiver is centered on the implement. If the receiver is off-center, measure horizontally towards the center of the implement. Use the left or right button in the display to indicate the position of the receiver and enter a value for the distance. The GPS inline offset is the distance from the tractor connection point to the center of the implement receiver. Measure horizontally to where the implement receiver is directly above. The GPS height is the vertical distance from the middle of the implement receiver to the ground. The middle of the receiver is where the yellow and green meet. All measurements have now been input into the implement profile. Now it is time to enter or verify the measurements in the ISOBUS VT screen. GPS fore or aft is the distance from the center of rotation to the receiver. If using 24-1 or newer display software, the system will automatically calculate this measurement based on the user inputs from the equipment profile. The system will also automatically populate the GPS height value in this ISOBUS VT screen to what was entered into the implement profile setup. Note that on a Starfire 7000 and newer, the fore, aft, and height values will be grayed out and not editable. If using an older display software, manual entry of these measurements will be required. Once all the measurements have been taken and verified, complete the setup by calibrating the TCM for each Starfire receiver. For best performance with AutoPath, the advanced TCM calibration is highly recommended. Refer to our other AutoPath videos to learn more, from how to set up the product within the display to the value that AutoPath can bring to your operation.